Hi, here we are on the final part of the Welcome to Class lecture. So I'm sure you remember that in a previous part of this lecture, I read you a list of words. So now it's time for me to ask you how many of those words you remember. You don't need to pick up a pencil yet. You just need to raise your hand or make some gesture all alone when you're studying. If the words that I read now were on the list that we covered previously. Okay. Sofa. Yep, that was on there. Soft. Yep, that was on there. Pencil. Nope, not on there. Stool. Yep, on there. Hair. Nope, not on there. Cushion. Yes, on there. Panda. No, not on there. Legs. Yes, on there. Car. No, not on there. Chair. No, not on there. Now, you don't have to tell me, but how many of you raised your hand or indicated, how many of you remembered that the word chair was on that list? Well, that was exactly the hypothesis of their study. Remember at the very beginning of this lecture how we talked about that human memory works by making associations? So if you go back to that list I originally read, you'll see that the words sofa, soft, stool, cushion, desk, legs, those are all things that are similar to the concept of chair. They're things that you think of when you think of a chair. So if you remember the word chair, which most people do, it's because your brain was making that further association. So this study historical study, was done around the time that there was a lot of controversy about false memories. And there still is, particularly in the legal system when people remember childhood abuse. Some people, there's those cases where the kids and the children remember that they were abused, and the parents swear and swear and swear that they weren't. So although it's not common, it is possible, at least the study was trying to find out if it was possible to implant false memories in somebody's mind. So they started with the question, remember they can't ask is it possible to plant false memories in somebody's mind, because that question is not answerable. Remember, our questions need to be testable. So the hypothesis in this study, the study about the chair, was that participants will remember words they didn't hear. Now, that's not quite in a formal hypothesis format, but it works. You can prove that true or false. And we know from our little experiment that we showed that it was true. In their literature review, they looked at many studies that had demonstrated similar phenomena, though of course not exactly the same way. They looked at different types of word lists, different types of participants, different intervals, different conditions, but there are some studies that have demonstrated similar phenomena. And the sample that we used to test it today was college students, obviously, because you're here. So going on with through our methods toolbox, measurement. How did we measure false memories? Well, we created a word list. We used the theory of, learning theory of semantic nodes is the formal name for it. And we worked around the semantic node for chair. So that's how we measured false memories. And false memories was the memory that I said the word chair. Statistics. How do we know that our results weren't due to chance? And this part is a lot easier when I'm in person, but basically, usually about 3/4 to 95% of the class raises their hand and says they earned chair. Now, that was pretty overwhelming. So we can pretty much say that this is not an accident. People really do. The whole population will probably remember chair. But what would happen if only half the class raised their hand? We'd be a little less sure that this would hold in the entire population of college students. Or what would happen if only 30% of the class raised their hand? We'd be even less sure. So what statistics basically do is they kind of set off a cutoff point. They set a cutoff point where we can say our results are due to chance or not. There is really something there. People in the population are likely to remember chair. So that's just what statistics do. They set off a cutoff point. Reporting the results should be replicable, and that means that people could repeat them. And I'm really lucky that this original study, this Rodeghier and McDermott study, included their word lists. They included the details of how many seconds they paused between the words. So in this case, the results were replicable. We actually recreated their original study. Conclusion: this suggests that it is possible for false memories to be produced. Now take a second here and think about this. Okay, so the conclusion, after we have done the whole study and we understand what they mean by false memories, yeah, this conclusion makes sense. This suggests that it is possible for false memories to be produced. But what would happen if we heard that statement completely out of context? You're just walking down the street and your friend comes up to you and says, I read a study that suggests that it's possible for false memories to be produced. You would get a completely different idea. Like, oh, child abuse? Alien landings? What are you making these people remember? Are they remembering years of their life? So it's not very descriptive. So this is kind of what happened with the Baby Loves Mozart studies. You've got one statement and take it out of context and it doesn't represent the study. So it's okay for the researchers to say that in their study because they told you the whole story if you read the article, if you understand how to read the methods. However, if that statement taken out of context, which is often done, doesn't tell the whole story. And so you have to be really, really careful how you interpret other people's summaries of the research. It's always better to go to the original source. Whew, so there we have it. I think this is the longest lecture you will ever have. I promise you the other ones are quite a bit shorter. That'll give you a little more time through the week. And let's finish up this one with the top 10 reasons to study research methods. It's our very own top 10 list. 10, you can't graduate without it. Yep, true, probably that's why a lot of people are taking it. 9, science is cool. Yeah, this is science. It's social science, but it's still, I think, really cool. It's like a big puzzle. 8, it's the cornerstone of market research. I know we have some fashion majors in here, and doing research on your product and your population, your sales population, can really help you make a business succeed. 7, it helps you make informed decisions. So the better your information is, the better decisions you can make. 6, you will learn valuable job skills, and some of you might recognize or you might know Nicole Iwazaki. She was a student, probably the first year I taught methods, and she's now is a transfer counselor with the University of Hawaii system. 5, it'll keep you from getting ripped off. Nobody can fool you with fake statements that don't really represent the research. You know the right questions to ask. 4, it helps you get good information to help clients. If you want to go into the helping profession, which many of the HDFS people do, research-based information is going to be the most likely to help people. 3, it helps you improve your writing skills. This stuff is very exacting and very logical, and if you can write this, your writing skills overall will improve. 2, it'll help you get into graduate school. And 1, the most important reason is it will stimulate your brain. So thank you so much for bearing with me for lecture 1. I will see you next week with the rest of the lectures, and we'll get more into this fascinating topic. Have a great weekend.